Yo, what's up everybody? Jumping here, and today I wanted to go ahead and show you guys the most overpowered hunter build that you can do right now in Destiny 2. There is no doubt that this is the strongest build that you can use on your hunter, and it is a lot of fun to play, I'm going to be honest. Now, I first found out about this build months ago. I guess it was during the season of the Drifter. I wasn't playing the game at that time, but I did see a video about this. And when I seen it, I immediately thought, man, if I play Destiny 2 again, I definitely want to do this build. And now I've noticed that a lot of people are talking about this again, and it seems that a lot of people are interested in it. So I wanted to kind of break down the setup of what I think you should be going for if you want to actually use this build. I think the reason why people are interested in this build now is because of the new bungee roll shotgun from Crown of Sorrows, Emperor's Courtesy, because this comes with Grave Robber and 1-2 Punch. Now, when I seen the video originally, I believe it might have been a Gamut Prime shotgun. I'm not exactly sure, but it did have 1-2 punch on it, because that's a very crucial thing that you want for this build. So if you do want to actually use this, I will say that you will have to do Crown of Sorrows, but to be honest, if you do enough of it, you will definitely get the bungee roll Emperor's Courtesy. And once you have this, and you have Liar's Handshake, which is the exotic, you can do the build. So let's kind of talk about how this works. Now, Liar's Handshake is pretty amazing, primarily just because of what it does. It's really good in PvE, obviously, because of the extreme damage that you can do with your melee, but it's also pretty good in PvP, because if someone melees you, it will activate cross counter, and then when you melee them back, you will one-shot them, which is pretty awesome. And you do not actually have to consume your arc melee to do this, because if you're using the top tree arc strider, which is what you want to use, then what you're going to do is you're just going to punch, and then punch again, and that second punch is going to have cross counter. Even if you do not actually have your arc melee charged, this will still trigger, and you will do extreme damage with your melee. So it's pretty good overall. And also, whenever you do get the cross counter effect, it will heal you. It will give you health regeneration, which is incredibly useful, especially with the top tree arc strider. So let's go ahead and talk about that real quick, because the top tree has always been really good, but now it is incredible. Every perk here is really good. This is the Way of the Warrior. Deadly Reach is amazing. Whenever you dodge, it's going to increase your melee range. It pretty much turns your melee into a demon lunge, so that's really cool. Also, Combination Blow, they did buff this. If I remember right, this only had one stack before. Now it can stack up to 3 times. And every stack will give you 60% more melee damage. It does not matter if you actually have your arc melee charged or not. This will increase your melee damage. And whenever you kill an enemy with your arc melee, it has to be charged. It will also trigger health regeneration. Now, this will stack with cross counter, at least in my opinion. I'm not 100% on that, but from my testing, it definitely seems like it does, because the amount of health you get back whenever you have your arc melee charged and you have cross counter is pretty ridiculous. You will almost heal up the full every single time. This build is extremely tanky, because if you're just punching enemies, which is what you're primarily going to be doing, you will pretty much never die. Especially if you do dodge and you have your arc melee charged, then you will definitely not die. You get so much health regeneration from it. It is awesome. Next up is Combat Flow. This is great. Killing an enemy with your melee will recharge your dodge ability. It does not matter if your arc melee is actually charged. So that's really cool, because sometimes you might waste your dodge. I believe this was changed. I'm not exactly sure, but I remember back in the day that if you missed your dodge and you didn't get your arc melee back, it was kind of a bummer, because the chance of you killing an enemy was a lot less. But now it's like all you have to do is just punch an enemy, and if you kill it, it will recharge your dodge ability, and then you can dodge with Gambler's Dodge, get your arc melee back, and it is really awesome. And finally, Lethal Current. This is for your super, but this is also really, really good. Obviously, the dodge is Gambler's Dodge. This is awesome. Anytime you dodge, it's going to recharge your melee. And anytime you punch something, it's going to recharge your dodge. I've made a lot of builds with this top tree. I've talked about it in the past. Things with Gemini Gestures. It's always been a lot of fun. But now, the amount of melee damage you do is pretty crazy. Now, like I already said, you want to have 1-2 punch if possible, because with this, you do have to land every single one of your pellets. At first, I didn't really quite understand it. I was shooting enemies. I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm not actually getting it to trigger. But you do have to land every pellet. And if you do, then it's going to increase your melee damage. And also, I personally say, why not use tractor cannon with this? Because this will debuff enemies and will make your melee hit harder. And also will help your team out if you are running with a team. The only other thing, in my opinion, that also makes a lot of sense is potentially using Anarchy if you have it. Because with this, you can shoot a boss with this, get it going, and then go in for your melees, and that makes sense. But personally, I just think Tractor Cannon is probably your best bet for this. And finally, I will say that for your kinetic slot, you should use something that probably has range, just in case you do need to go ahead and take something out that is at distance. So I'm using Blast Furnace. I think that this is a fantastic pulse rifle. I definitely like it a lot. I have a pretty good roll on it. Outlaw Rampage with Rampage Spec. It's pretty good. I personally do want to get one, though, that has Killing Frenzy and also Kill Clip on it. I just think that would be better. Now, let's talk about the armor, because in my opinion, I think that this is really important. Now, I will say that you want to have Season 7 armor if possible. I do not have a bunch of really good Season 7 armor yet, but I do have a helmet. I personally say that go for Resilience. Now, you might notice I actually have 10 Resilience, which is quite funny on a Hunter. But I did this because the whole idea is that this is a tanky build, and I don't want to die when I'm meleeing, so I want to have as much resilience as possible, because recovery does not matter. You do not need recovery. You're getting all your health back from meleeing, so resilience makes the most sense, and also mobility. Why not go for this as well? So that's what I have. I have heavy hunter armor for my Menagerie armor. I definitely say hands-on is a really good perk. You melee something, it's going to give you super energy back. Shotgun reserves because we're using shotguns. And also for if you are doing raids like the Crown of Sorrows, Striking Hand. This is really, really good, obviously, because this is going to increase your damage if you get a melee kill by 20%, and that's for everything. So I definitely say you want to use that. Now, the other mod I'm also using is Shielding Hand. This is another really good mod that you can use if you're doing Menagerie or Crown of Sorrows or any of the old Leviathan raids. If you get a melee kill, this will give you 20% damage reduction, which is really, really cool. This is already a really tanky build. It's hard to kill, and when you have this going, you will definitely feel this, so this is really cool. You could also technically use Giving Hand, and with that, if you get a melee kill, you have a higher chance of getting heavy ammo. So that's also really, really cool and something you can use. But this build is raid viable. It's already been proven. There was a guy who soloed Riven using this build, and he literally punched Riven to death, so that's really cool. And this is a build I definitely will say is really good in Crown of Sorrows, because you always want to generally have a tractor cannon. And this just makes sense. You can tractor cannon, switch to your shotgun, and then go for some punches. Now, the thing is that you do want to have combination blows, but luckily in Crown of Sorrows, there's a lot of thrall that you can actually take out to get that going and keep that going. And then you can go ahead and start meleeing. So that's really cool. And also in Crown of Sorrows, there are phases where the guy's going to put up his hands and people will have to shoot the hands. And if you're the tractor cannon guy, you don't really have to worry about that. And in that time, you can go and melee a thrall. So that's just something that I wanted to point out. Now, the other perks that I would recommend is things like Shotgun Scavenger. That's really good. And I already said Shotgun Reserves is something that you might want. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the mods and the perks that I would personally recommend. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the Tribute Hall, and I can show you what kind of damage this build can do. Alrighty guys, well, I'm in the Tribute Hall right now, and remember, this is actually a part of the Leviathan, so things like Striking Hand will trigger here. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my combination blow up to ×3, and then from there, we can actually kind of do some damage tests. So let me go ahead and do that. Now, I don't have the Arc Melee charge, it does not matter though. So from one punch, that's 122,000, and then if I can do it with Cross Counter, that's going to be 305,000 damage. Now let me go ahead and restore this, because you do want to dodge and do your melee. You have 20 seconds on combination blow, so you do want to actually make sure you maintain that. But remember, you don't actually always have to dodge melee. That's really not important. But we're going to punch, shoot, and then punch, and that is max damage. That was pretty much 1,000,000 there. I'm going to do it again so you can see it. But let me go ahead and punch, shoot, and then punch. And as you can see, that's max damage. So I don't even really need to show the tractor cannon because I'm already hitting max, but just for fun, let's go ahead and do that now. Punch, shoot, and he died. Okay, well, striking hand is kind of upping my damage a little bit too much here. Let me go ahead and get that. Maybe I can try it over here on Greg. This might actually work a little bit better. So let's punch, shoot, punch, and there you go. Max damage again. But that's kind of the idea, like I said, for something like if you are doing Crown of Sorrows or a raid or something, you can be the tractor cannon person with this build, and it's really easy to set up the debuff and then go for the punch, and then you can set up the debuff again once it wears off. So now I'm going to go into a Lost Sector, kind of show you on how this build plays, and also kind of how the health regeneration works, and then I will go and one-shot a Lost Sector boss. Alrighty guys, well I'm in a Lost Sector here on Mars. This Lost Sector boss is actually pretty tough. Normally it takes a lot of heavy ammo to take him out. Now the first thing I kind of want to show off here is just the insane amount of health regeneration that you can get. So the first thing you always want to do with this, of course, is get your combination blows going. And now I'm going to let some stuff hit me and take me down low, and then I can melee. And I mean, look at that amount of health I get back. It is crazy. Now, for the most part, you don't actually have to dodge melee. Like back in the day, that was kind of how you wanted to play the top tree Arc Strider. But now, you don't have to worry about that. You can literally just run around and punch everything. And the only time you really need to dodge melee is either A, when you're about to die and you feel like you need that extra health regeneration, because that is nice to have that. And also, you might want to dodge melee whenever you want to reset your combination blow, because that's something you do have to pay attention to. It's kind of hard to get out of that habit of just dodge melee, because I'm so used to it. I used to always play the top tree back in the day. I had a lot of different builds for this. And I do want to say that this shotgun, Emperor's Courtesy, is a really, really good shotgun. So it is a weapon that I would actually recommend in general to use. It's a really fun weapon. So, I mean, this build is awesome. You can also use Tractor Cannon as a weapon, and that's a fun weapon as well. I'm going to go ahead and one-shot him now, and, I just hit him for a lot of damage. He died pretty much instantly. I'm about to be surrounded by a bunch of thralls, but Tractor Cannon is a fun weapon. It's a really fun weapon to murder everything. Shoot those stupid cursed thralls. And like I said, the only time you really need to do dodge melee is when you need to reset your combination blow, or when you just want that extra health regeneration, because I mean, this build is so tanky. It has pretty much everything going for it. Crazy damage, crazy survivability. It's really good in raids. I mean, this build is awesome. Now, if you don't have this shotgun, I know that some people might say that, oh man, I can't get the shotgun. It is a bummer. I guess there are other ways you can get 1-2 punch. I believe that from the original video I seen, someone was using a shotgun maybe from Gambit Prime. I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, I took a long break from this game. I don't really know much about things like the Season of the Drifter, but I'm assuming there are other ways of getting 1-2 punch. But I will say that I think that this shotgun is pretty much your best bet if you want a really, really good weapon. And on top of it, it is the icing on the cake for this build. As you can see, though, when you're running around doing normal activities, you really don't need the shotgun. The shotgun's just there to take out things like bosses or just really, really strong enemies, because it is the icing on the cake. Like, that will allow you to hit for pretty much Golden Gun, Celestial Nighthawk damage with your melee, and you can continuously do it over and over again until whatever you're hitting will die. And if you can debuff it first, either by having a Titan with Melting Point, or if you actually have Tractor Cannon, you will kill any big enemy super quickly. But I will say that if you are doing Crown of Sorrows, eventually you will get the bungee roll. That's just something that will happen. Anyway, guys, that's going to pretty much do it for this video. This is pretty much the only hunter build that I've been playing ever since I actually got all the pieces. I did get really lucky because I needed Liar's Handshake and I wanted it so bad. I got it from like an adventure or something, so I was like super happy. And I knew that I definitely wanted to make this video about this, just in case there are some people who don't know about it. But I have noticed a lot of people are talking about this build now all of a sudden, but I believe it's because of this shotgun. People are getting this shotgun, and now they're interested in this build again. Alrighty, well, I will appreciate it, though, if you could like this video for me. Be sure to subscribe for future videos, and I really do hope that everyone has a very nice day, and peace out.